Your life as a Roman gladiator. Slave, you're 19 years old, chained in the hold of a slave ship bound for Rome in the year 70 AD, when a man in fine robes walks the line of captives, sizing up muscle and bone the way a butcher sizes up cattle. He's not buying farmhands, he's buying fighters. You were a soldier once captured in a border war you barely remember the cause of. Now you're cargo. The man buys you for a fair price, not the highest, not the lowest, just enough to mean you're worth training, not worth mourning if you die in your first fight. You're taken to a ludus, a gladiator school. Its high walls built less to keep enemies out than to keep you in. You're learning your first lesson. Freedom didn't end when you were captured. It ends now, behind these walls. The lanista who runs the school greets new arrivals with a speech you'll hear repeated by every guard, every trainer, every other gladiator who survived long enough to mock you for not knowing it yet. You will swear the gladiator's oath, to be burned, bound, beaten, and killed by the sword if your masters demand it. You sign, not because you want to, because refusing means death without even the chance to fight for your life. Training starts before sunrise. Wooden swords first, heavier than steel, meant to build muscles that real blades will later test. Your trainer, a former gladiator himself, corrects your stance with a wooden rod across your shoulders whenever you slip. Pain becomes instruction. You learn fast. Meals come on schedule, more food than you'd ever eaten as a soldier. Barley, beans, dried fruit. You're confused at first. Then you realize you're not being cared for. You're being fed like livestock fed for slaughter. Strong gladiators put on a better show. Dead gladiators waste the lanista's investment before they've turned a profit. You're learning your second lesson. Your life has value now, just not the kind you want. Months pass. You share cramped quarters with dozens of other gladiators, slaves like you, prisoners of war, condemned criminals, and strangely a handful of free men who volunteered for this life, chasing fame or escaping debt. You can't understand why anyone would choose this. Not yet. A bond forms anyway. You eat together, train together, bleed together. The other fighters become something close to family, the kind of family forged by men who know any one of them might die for the crowd's entertainment next week. You learn the names of the dead before you learn most of the living. The ludus doesn't pause for mourning. Another body fills the gap within days. At 20, you fight for the first time. The arena is louder than anything you've ever experienced. Tens of thousands of voices screaming for blood before a single sword is drawn. You stand opposite a man you've trained beside for months, sharing meals, sharing pain, and now ordered to try to kill him. The crowd doesn't care about your friendship. They came for a show. You fight. Your hands shake less than you expected. Months of drilling override fear in ways you didn't know were possible. The fight ends with your opponent on the ground, your blade at his throat, and the crowd roaring for a verdict. The sponsor of the games gives the signal, "Mercy." Your former training partner lives. You're learning your third lesson. Survival in this life isn't about hating your enemy. It's about performing well enough that someone with power decides you're worth keeping around. Word spreads through the ludus about gladiators who win the crowd's love. The famous ones get nicer cells, better food, even fan letters scratched onto wax tablets by admirers outside the walls. Some gladiators, against every expectation, become celebrities. Wealthy women request their company. Children mimic their fighting stances in the streets. You realize the paradox you've stepped into? Rome despises you as the lowest class of person in the empire, denied burial rights in respectable cemeteries, treated as barely human in daily life. And yet, when you step into that arena, tens of thousands of those same Romans scream your name like you're a god. At 22, you win enough fights that your name starts appearing on advertisements painted on city walls, announcing upcoming games. People place bets on whether you'll live or die. Some root for you, some root against you. None of them know you. None of them care to. You start understanding something dark about the arena. The crowd isn't watching a man. They're watching a story they've already decided the ending to in their heads. You're just there to perform it. Not spectral evidence, not dreams, not moles. Actual physical evidence that this woman did harm. There is none. The witch-finder points to the mole, the stumbled prayer, the shaking girl. The judge looks at these for a long time. Then he does something almost nobody does in this courtroom. He acquits you. Not because he's certain you're innocent, but because he's not certain you're guilty. And somewhere beneath the fear and the religious terror, a sliver of legal principle still exists that says uncertainty is not enough to hang a person. You're released on a Tuesday morning. You walk out of the jail into cold air and you don't know what to feel. Relief, yes, but also something else. Something without a clean name. A knowledge that your survival wasn't about justice. It was about luck. About one judge, on one particular day, in one specific moment of doubt. The woman who shared your cell, the elderly one, was not as lucky. She confessed to stop the sleep deprivation. She named 3 others. All 4 were executed within the month. You go back to your house. Your garden has gone untended. 2 windows are broken. Someone has painted a word on your door that you scrub away before you go inside. You think about leaving the village, but where would you go? Accusations travel faster than carts. Instead, you stay. You repair the windows. You tend the garden. You speak to no one who doesn't speak to you first. You never know when the neighbor's next cow might die. Because the thing nobody tells you about surviving a witch trial is that survival is not the same as safety. You're free, but you're never not afraid again. So you survived one of history's most arbitrary systems of justice, but don't get comfortable. Click the next video and discover your life as a child chimney sweep, where nobody accuses you of anything. They just send you up a burning flue and hope for the best.